Was studying at a Japanese language school in Tokyo worth it? Short answer, for me, yes. It was expensive. There were a lot of unknowns that I had in my mind at the time. Will I actually be able to get a job? Can I learn Japanese even as an older student? Would I be saving money if I did self-study? But in the end, the Japanese language school gave me the foundation on which to build both my language skills and career skills in Japan. Looking back now, this was probably the time where I really started to get serious about living in Japan for the long term. Long answer. This is my take on this whole experience of mine. It really comes down to the goals that you set for yourself in terms of learning Japanese. Those studying Japanese at language schools range from students looking to live in Japan for a few months or a year and just kind of get a conversational level of Japanese. There are those who are trying to take entrance exams to get into Japanese universities. And then there are even others like me who are looking for employment in Japan. And I think all of these are valid reasons on their own. Everybody's going to have a different goal that they want to achieve. But I think it's important to kind of understand your own goals and expectations and kind of keep them grounded in reality. You might find it difficult to achieve your goals if you spend your time not studying. Japanese is a difficult language and it takes effort and concentration and practice to learn. Another piece of advice that I would have for myself entering language school would be to just focus on yourself. There's no point in worrying about how well other people are doing compared to you, as long as you're making progress towards your goal. At the language school that I attended, there were about 60 or so students in the same level that started together with me. And I think now it's been like 5 or 6 years, and there's only a handful of us who studied together at that time who are still living in Japan. But I think a lot of the students who eventually decided to return home still think of their experience in Japan as a positive one. I was able to find a job while studying at the language school, not the job I have now at Real Estate Japan, but there was this easy transition between studying Japanese and then working in Tokyo. So if I didn't find a job right away or at all, then I might be a little bit more hesitant to say whether or not studying at a language school was worth it for me. But who knows, maybe in a parallel universe, I would have found another path to a career in Japan. Another question that I kind of wrestled with before I decided to enroll in language school was, wouldn't I save more money if I did self-study? And thinking about it now, yes, probably I would save money by not going to language school. It's not cheap, but it really is through language school that I was able to build my language skills and career skills to find a job in Japan. Not 100% sure I would have been able to do that by myself with self-taught resources, but I know there are people who are able to do that. I lived in a share house when I was attending language school to help keep rent and living costs as affordable as possible. And luckily, I had a good experience with my housemates, and I was even able to practice Japanese with them from time to time. But I know how much of a dice roll share houses can be. I'll save that for another video. I think the classroom gave me a good opportunity to practice language skills that would be kind of difficult to obtain if you were studying by yourself. I was able to observe other language learners. I got feedback from my teachers, and I think that kind of was like an early detection system for any bad habits that were forming. Not to say I don't have bad habits in my Japanese, but I think I have fewer of them now because of the learning environment that I had. I was 27, I think, when I started language school classes. The older you get, the harder it is to remember dates clearly. And I think majority of my classmates were in their early 20s, so there was a little bit of a gap. But if I could go back in time, I would reassure myself to not worry about it being too late to start learning a new language. As an adult with a full-time job, it can be really hard to find the time to dedicate to learning a language, which is why the language school option worked for me. And on the subject of learning Japanese in my late 20s as opposed to earlier, yes, I wish I had fluent or conversational Japanese before I came to Japan. But I think in my case, a lot of the career skills that I learned in my early and mid 20s translated over to skills in Japan that I'm able to use at my job now. I guess what I'm getting at is that there are multiple paths to finding a job in Japan, and don't get hung up on seeing one path and thinking, oh my God, if I'm not following that, I'm not going to meet my goals. Your goals are going to be different from my goals, and they're different from everybody else's. So we're not necessarily going to take the same paths to achieve them. Anyways, I thought I'd just put my own experience with studying Japanese in a Japanese language school in Tokyo out there in case anybody was curious. Down below in the description, there's going to be a link to the Gaijin Pot Study website for info on language schools around Japan. I didn't use this service, but if you're interested about studying Japanese in Japan, I'm sure if you head over to their website, you can contact them and get some more info. So that's going to do it for me in this video. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any other questions about my language school experience in Japan. Take care, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.